With just a bump, nudge, and a bit of patching, you can turn just about any texture into a perfectly tiled pattern. I'm Abby Esparza with Envato Tuts Plus. I have about 10 years of Photoshop experience, and today we're going to create an infinitely repeating grass texture. All resources I'll be using today can be found over on Envato Elements, where you can get unlimited downloads of graphics, photos, and fonts, millions of creative digital assets with simple commercial licensing. So first things first, we want to start with as clean of a base as we can. The edges of this grass texture are slightly darker than the center portion, but the bigger issue is actually how blurry they are. So we want to crop out the out of focus areas as much as possible without cropping the texture too much. We don't want it to be too small. Now we can grab the dodge and burn tools and lighten those dark areas, any that survived the cropping. We want really uniform lighting, as any overly light spots or overly dark spots are going to stick out like a sore thumb in a tiled texture. Before moving on, we want to make sure we've permanently cropped the image. So let's select the crop tool and go to the upper options bar, setting delete cropped pixels. Now, I always like to uncheck this box right after, as more oftentimes than not, I definitely don't want photos to be permanently cropped. And it's always a bummer when I forget. Let's make sure this is unchecked. Next, we want to offset the texture. You can do this one of two ways. The first is by going to Filter, Other Offset, and the second is by manually moving the texture to create the offset yourself. We actually walk you through the manual process in the written version of this tutorial over on the Envato Tuts Plus website. That link can be found down in the description. Today, however, we'll be using the offset filter. So, Filter, Other, Offset. The number of the offset will change depending on the size of your texture. My texture is somewhat large, so I went with -400. You can also do +400 or +500. That actually doesn't matter. What does matter is that both offsets are the same. From far away, it's almost a bit hard to see, but if we confirm the offset and then zoom in, we have these harsh edges where the image is repeating itself, which is what we want. But now that we have these harsh edges, we actually want to get rid of them. So let's grab the patch tool, make sure it's set to content aware, and patch out the harsh edges by selecting and dragging, removing both the horizontal and vertical edges. And since the patch tool works amazingly on textures like grass, you can also use the patch tool on smaller areas, getting rid of any funky looking grass or overly repetitive patterns made by the initial patch tool. We do want to be sure not to get too close to the edges of the canvas though. Editing any of those pixels could potentially ruin our soon-to-be seamless pattern. Let's also make some final color adjustments, any final lighting adjustments as well, and then go to Edit, Define Pattern. Give that pattern a name, and then I'm going to create a super large canvas to really see the pattern in action. We can create a pattern fill layer by going to the bottom of the layers panel and choosing pattern. I have several because if you find your pattern isn't as seamless as you might need it to be or want it to be, you can always hop back into the original texture PSD and do some extra refining. You can also set both the angle and scale in the pattern fill settings. Now, if you want to add something more structured to your grass, like a flower, you'll need to be a bit more careful about the edges. We're going to use the rectangular marquee tool to split the flower in half. I'm going to do it with 2 flowers, one split horizontally and one split vertically, placing each half on a new layer. The splits don't have to be perfect, it all just depends on where you want the flower to be placed in the pattern. Now we're going to drag the bottom half up and the top half down on the horizontally split flower, so both pieces are touching the edges of the screen. Be very careful and make sure they stay perfectly aligned with each other. You can always use the Move Tools upper options bar to make sure the pieces line up correctly. And we're going to do the same with the vertically split flower, only bring the left half to the right and the right half to the left. And then just like before, go to Edit Define Pattern, and we have a new daisy field inspired grass texture. And that is all there is to turning a grass texture into a full-on pattern in Photoshop. If that wasn't enough and you're looking to learn even more, why not check out some of the other excellent videos that Envato Tuts Plus has to offer. If you liked this video and would like to see more, consider giving us a like and even subscribing if you haven't already. And don't forget to click the little bell icon to be notified of all new videos, including tips, tricks, and tutorials. Happy designing! See you next time.